Okay, good day nurses. So now we move on to the part 2 of your endocrine system, which is the diagnostic test of your endocrine system. Okay, so unahin na natin si thyroid function test. Okay, so this includes guys the T3, T4, free T4, and the TSH or the thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, so this test guys is used to assess thyroid gland function and help diagnose hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. As I said doon sa first part ng video guys, kapag mataas kasi ang T3 and T4 guys, yun yung tinatawag natin na hyperthyroidism. Okay? Kapag mababa naman guys, then therefore yun yung tinatawag natin na hypothyroidism. Okay? So, these are the normal values of your thyroid function test. Okay? First, we have the T3 or the total triiodothyronine. Okay, so it is from 110.4 to 337.7 nanogram per deciliter or 1.7 to 5.2 picomoles per liter. Okay? Then si T4 naman guys or the total thyroxine guys from 5 to 12 microgram per deciliter or 64 to 154 nanomoles per liter. Okay? Then si free T4 naman guys or the free thyroxine naman guys from 0.8 to 2.8 nanogram per deciliter or 10 to 36 picomoles per liter. Okay? Then si TSH naman guys or your thyroid stimulating hormone is from 0.5 to 5.0 milli international unit per liter. Okay? And si TSH guys is reported in the same units, okay? Milli international unit per liter in conventional NSI system. So same lang sila guys, okay? Then now, ano ang kailangan na alam mo dito guys? The interpretation of the results, okay? Kapag mataas si T3 and T4 guys, and si free T4 guys, yan yung tinatawag natin na condition na hyperthyroidism, specifically primary. Okay? Then kapag mababa naman ang iyong T3, T4, and free T4 guys, ibig sabihin guys, yan yung condition na tinatawag natin na hypothyroidism. Primary lang din. Okay? So the key findings here guys, masasabi mong hyperthyroidism kapag increase ang T3, T4, and free T4, then mababa ang TSH. Okay? Si hypothyroidism naman guys, mababa ang T3, T4, and the free T4, pero mataas si TSH. Okay, bakit kaya kapag mataas ang T3 and T4, mababa ang TSH? Sabi mo sa amin sir, magre-release si anterior pituitary gland ng TSH para tumaas ang T3 and T4. Okay? Dahil yan sa tinatawag natin na negative feedback loop. Okay? Ang nangyayari kasi sa katawan mo guys, kapag mataas ang iyong T3 and T4 guys, nasa-sense ni hypothalamus, tama? That is the boss of the pituitary gland. So, ang gagawin ngayon ni hypothalamus guys, sasabihin niya kay pituitary gland mo not to release a thyroid stimulating hormone. So, as a result guys, bababa ngayon yung thyroid stimulating hormone. Kaya kapag hyperthyroidism guys, mababa ang thyroid stimulating hormone and mataas ang T3, T4, and the free T4. Okay? That is the negative feedback loop na tinatawag. Okay? Same lang siya dito kay hypothyroidism. Mababa, pero mataas ang TSH. Dahil nga, nasa-sense ni hypothalamus na mababa ang T3, T4. So, sasabihin niya pituitary gland, itaas mo ang thyroid stimulating hormone. Kinagagets kaya mataas ang thyroid stimulating hormone kay primary hypothyroidism. Okay? So what is the pre-procedure in the thyroid function test? Of course, guys, first is to verify the physician's order. Tama? Alam naman na natin yan. Then you identify the patient using two identifiers by asking the name of the patient and by the wristband. Okay, tignan natin yung wristband. Then you explain the purpose of the test, okay? To assess the thyroid gland function and to diagnose hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. Then you inform the patient that a blood sample will be collected. Oh, yun lang naman yung mga yan. Then ito lang yung importante dito guys kasi ito lang yung kakaiba. You review medications that may affect the results and notify the physicians if necessary. So, ano yung mga medication na kaka-affect ng result, guys? First, we have the levothyroxine, okay? Your levothyroxine kasi, guys, ginagamit to or medication to para pataasin ang T3 and T4 ng isang pasyente. So, kapag nagtitake siya ng ganito, guys, then therefore, ma-alter niya yung result ng T3 and T4 kasi mataas ang mariread niya. Dahil ito nga, guys, ginagamit to sa mga patient na mayroong condition na hypothyroidism. Okay? Then, what else? Yung mga anti-thyroid drugs naman, the methimazole and the PTU. Okay? Itong medication naman na to guys, ang ginagawa nito, binababa niya yung T3 and T4. So kapag nagtitake ng ganito yung pasyente mo guys, then therefore i-alter niya yung result. Okay? Dahil itong mga medication na to guys, ginagamit to sa mga taong merong hyperthyroidism. Okay, what else? Yung mga nagko-corticosteroids, estrogen-containing medications, amiodarone, and lastly, lithium. Okay? Then you ask the patient, guys, if they are taking biotin or the vitamin B7 supplements. Okay? Because it can also interfere with thyroid test results. Okay? Then, fasting is generally not required unless ordered by the physician or laboratory. Then lastly, you assess for allergies to latex as adhesive tape or antiseptics used during venipuncture. Then, during the procedure guys, the same lang to sa pagkuha ng CBC. Okay na gets? The same lang siya sa CBC. Position, perform hand hygiene, apply tourniquet, then cleanse, then kukuha ng blood sample na dun sa ganon, then ilalagay dun sa tinatawag nila na EDTA. Actually guys, hindi naman kasi tayo ang gumagawa nito, okay? The medical technologies kasi ang gumagawa nito. Then after makakuha sila ng blood, ilalagay na nila dun sa laboratory for readings, okay? Then post-procedure guys, you apply a bandage to the puncture site, okay? You assess for complications such as bleeding, hematoma formation, dizziness, or fainting. Then you instruct the patient to keep pressure on the site if bleeding occurs. Then resume normal activities unless otherwise instructed. Then you document the time of specimen collection, the site use, patient's tolerance of the procedure, and any complications noted. Then you monitor and review the laboratory results. Then that is all guys for your thyroid function test. Okay? Then the next one is the glycosylated hemoglobin or the HbA1c. Okay? This is used naman guys for diabetes mellitus monitoring. Okay? The purpose of this one is to measure the amount of glucose attached to hemoglobin. That is your HbA1c. Okay? And it reflects the average blood glucose control over the previous 2 to 3 months. Okay? Approximately 90 days. Okay? That is your HbA1c. That's why in this monitoring test guys, hindi na kailangan ng fasting. Okay? Kasi ang minomonitor naman dito guys is the blood glucose control over the past 2 to 3 months or approximately 90 days. Okay? It is used to diagnose diabetes and evaluate effectiveness of diabetes management and assist healthcare provider in adjusting treatment plans. Now, ano ang normal values na kailangan na malaman mo? Okay? So, kapag ang normal guys in your HbA1c kailangan less than 6%. Okay? Doon mo masasabi guys na controlled yung blood glucose level ng patient mo. Okay? Kapag 5.7 to 6.4% guys, yan yung tinatawag na natin na pre-diabetes. Okay? The pre-diabetes. So may nagbabadya na diabetes doon sa pasyente. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng pre-diabetes. Okay? And kapag greater than or equal to 6.5% na yung na-read mo guys, ang readings na yan is considered na or diagnosed na si patient sa diabetes. Okay? Greater than or equal to 6.5%. Okay? And this is the HbA1c and the estimated average glucose. Okay? Kapag 5%, 97. Okay? Kapag 6%, 126. Kapag 7, 154. Kapag 8, 183. Kapag 9, 212. Kapag 10, 240. Kapag 11, 269. And kapag 12, then it's 298. Okay? Now, what's the procedure? Oh, actually, the same lang naman to guys. Okay? Explain the procedure, identify, explain the purpose, inform the patient about review current medication, then you assess history of anemia, recent blood transfusion, hemoglobin disorders, and chronic kidney disease. Then, ang pinakakakaiba lang dito guys is yung sinabi ko kanina na hindi na kailangan ng fasting dahil nga ang binomonitor is your blood glucose level for the past 2 to 3 months or approximately 90 days. Okay, then lastly, you encourage normal food and fluid intake unless otherwise ordered. Okay, then during the procedure, the same lang din guys, kukuha lang din ng blood sample, then ilalagay doon sa laboratory. Then for the post-procedure, same lang din, you apply a bandage to the puncture site, then you monitor for bleeding, hematoma formation, dizziness, then encourage the patient to resume normal activities, o the same lang din, you document the time of collection, site use, patient response to procedure, then follow up laboratory results. Then lastly, report abnormal findings to the healthcare provider. So ano importante lang dito guys, this one, okay? The normal values, kailangan kabisado mo yan guys, and also the purpose, para malaman mo na hindi na kailangan ng fasting kapag kay HbA1c. Okay? Now, we move on to the screening for gestational diabetes. Okay, the non-fasting 1-hour glucose challenge test or the GCT. Okay, anong ginagawa dito guys? Ang ginagawa kay GCT guys, it is a non-fasting. Okay, so meaning guys, hindi kailangan mag-fasting ni patient dito. Okay, anong pinapagawa dito guys? Pinapadrink yung patient ng 5 gram of glucose. Then, after 1 hour, doon natin i-check yung glucose level ng patient natin. Okay? Kapag ang glucose na nakuha mo kay patient guys ay less than 140 mg per deciliter or 7.8 millimole per liter guys, meaning negative si patient sa GDM. Okay? What if ang glucose ni patient guys ay greater than or equal to 140 mg per deciliter or 7.8 millimole per liter guys? Then therefore, magpro-proceed ka into step 2. Okay? To confirm now the gestational diabetes mellitus with fasting oral glucose challenge test or the OGTT na tinatawag. Okay? But before we discuss the OGTT guys, i-discuss muna natin si GCT. Okay? This is used guys to screen for gestational diabetes mellitus. So yun yung pinagkaiba nila sa OGTT guys. Si GTT guys, screening procedure lang siya. Okay? Si OGTT guys, for confirming and diagnosing na siya. Okay, nagigets? It is used to screen for gestational diabetes mellitus, usually at 24 to 28 weeks of gestation or as indicated. Then it identifies women who need further testing. Okay? This is a non-diagnostic test. Okay? It is a screening only. Yun yung sinabi ko kanina. Okay? Si GCT, screening lang siya. Si OGTT, it is a confirmatory test. Okay? To diagnose na yung patient. Okay? Then pre-procedure, halos same. You need to verify the physician's order. Then identify patient using two identifier, explain the purpose and procedure. Then fasting is not required in your GCT or the non-fasting 1-hour glucose challenge test. Okay? Usual diet and activities may be continued. Then you review medical history. Then no special preparation needed for the non-fasting 1-hour glucose challenge test. Okay? Then during the procedure, anong ginagawa? Yung sinabi ko kanina, magbibigay ng 50 grams of glucose. Okay? Ipapainom yun kay patient. Usually in 10 ounce or 296 ml of water. Then, you note time, patient finishes the drink. Then, pagresin mo lang muna yung patient, magantay ng 1 hour, then i-draw mo na yung blood sample for plasma glucose. O kapag ang na-read is less than 140, then therefore negative si patient. Kapag greater than or equal to 140, then you proceed to step 2, which is the OGTT, that is the confirmatory test na ngayon. Okay? So, post-procedure, you ensure patient's comfort, resume normal activities, then inform patient that results will determine if further testing is needed. Then you document time, drink given, time sample collected, and patient response. This is the result interpretation, okay? 1 hour plasma glucose. Kapag less than 140, negative. Okay, kapag greater than or equal to 140, positive. So, you need to proceed to OGTT kasi that is the confirmatory test or para ma-diagnose mo na yung patient mo. Now, we proceed to the step 2 which is the confirmatory test ng gestational diabetes mellitus. Okay? Diba kanina, GCT. Okay? Kapag greater than 140 ang na-read, then we proceed to the step 2 para ma-confirm na natin or ma-diagnose na natin yung patient. Okay? So, paano ba ang ginagawa dito kay OGTT? Okay? In summary guys, your OGTT, ang ginagawa dyan, pinapainom natin yung patient ng 100 gram of glucose. Then, kukunin natin yung baseline data niya. Then, after 1 hour, i-check natin yung glucose level niya. Then, pagre-resin lang muna natin yung patient niya. Then, after 1 hour again, kukunin na naman natin yung glucose niya. Then, pagre-resin ulit. Then, after 1 hour again, kukunin na naman natin yung glucose niya. That's why tinawag siyang OGTT is equal to 100 gram 3-hour test. Okay? So, anong ginagawa? Maka-fasting muna yung patient mo guys for at least 8 to 14 hours. Okay? Then, kukuhanan siya ng baseline data. Okay? Then, papainumin siya ng 100 gram of glucose. Okay? Then, ino-note mo yung time nun. Okay? Nakuhanan mo na siya ng baseline data. Then, after 1 hour guys, kukuhanan mo ngayon siya or magdodraw ka ng blood samples. Okay? Para matest kung ilan yung glucose niya. Okay? Then, pagre-resin muna yung patient mo. Then, after 1 hour again guys, itetest na naman yung plasma glucose ng patient natin. Then, pagre-resin na naman, then after 1 hour again guys, kukuhanan na naman natin siya ng blood sample. Then, we interpret the result guys using the Carpenter-Costan or the NDDG criteria. Okay? So, ito yung sinasabi ko guys. This is the diagnostic criteria for gestational diabetes mellitus. Okay, first is the Carpenter-Costan criteria. Okay, anong ginagawa dito? Kukuhanan ka, okay, di ba pinag-fasting ka ng 8 hours, tama? Then, kukuhanan ka muna without drinking 100 grams of glucose, okay, para sa baseline data mo. Okay? So, kukuhanan ka, then papainumin ka ng 100 grams of glucose, then mag-aantay yung patient ng 1 hour, then kukuhanan ka na naman ng blood samples. Okay, then after 2 hours, after 1 hour, kukuhanan ka na naman ng blood sample, then after 1 hour again, kukuhanan ka ng blood sample. Okay? Kapag sa fasting mo, dun sa baseline mo guys, greater than or equal to 95 mg per deciliter or 5.3 millimoles per liter ang nakuha guys, then therefore, positive. Okay? Positive. Positive ang ibig niyang sabihin. Okay? Then dun sa 1 hour, after 1 hour, kinuhaan ka ng dugo. Tama? Then ang na-read guys, 180 mg per deciliter or 10.0 millimoles per liter guys. Then therefore, positive ka na naman. Okay? After 1 hour again, kinuhanan ka ulit ng blood sample, tama? Then ang na-read sa'yo guys is greater than or equal to 155 mg per deciliter or 8.6 guys. Then therefore, positive ka na naman. Okay? Then after 1 hour, kukuhanan ka na naman. Okay? Kapag ang nakuha sa'yo is 140 mg per deciliter or 7.8 millimoles per liter, then therefore, positive ka na naman. Okay? Ano ang tinuturo ng Carpenter-Costan criteria guys? Diagnose daw sa GDM ang isang pasyente kapag 2 or more values meet or exceed the threshold. So meaning guys, kung ito positive ka, then negative ka dito guys, positive ka pa rin for GDM kasi dalawa lang daw. Okay? What if ito naman positive ka, dito positive ka, then negative, negative. Positive ka pa rin for GDM. Okay? Then si NDDG criteria guys, the same lang din siya ng concept kay Carpenter-Costan criteria. Pero magkaiba sila ng value. Okay? So, screenshot nyo na lang to guys, then dignan nyo na lang yung value niya. Okay? By the way guys, bago natin ituloy guys, tanungin kita, ano ba ang normal na blood glucose level? Okay? The normal blood glucose level guys, yung ibang book, sinasabi nila na 70 to 100. Okay? And meron din yung ibang book na nagsasabi na 80 to 120. Okay, so ang gawin natin guys, i-range na lang natin siya. So kuhanin natin yung 70 to 120 para mapag-mix na natin yung dalawang book. Okay, kasi meron yung ibang book guys nagsasabi na 70 to 100 and meron din yung ibang book na nagsasabi na 80 to 120. Okay, so now what is the pre-procedure in your OGTT? Okay, pre-procedure, you verify, o same lang guys. Then explain the procedure and duration. Approximately 3 hours yan guys. Then you instruct the patient to fast overnight, okay? At least 8 to 14 hours. And water lang ang pwede guys, okay? Then you avoid vigorous exercise and smoking because it can alter the result, okay? Then review medication such as steroids because this can alter the result. Then you notify provider if unable to pass. Then ensure patient is well and not ill. Okay, then during the procedure, ito na yung procedure. Confirm last oral intake and fasting time. Okay, then kukuhanan ka ng blood sample for your baseline data. Okay, then magbibigay ng 100 gram of glucose to drink. Then, oorasan yun. Then, pagre-resin ka muna. Then, after 1 hour, kukuhanan ka na ng blood sample. Then, pagre-resin ka na naman. Then, after 1 hour, kukuhanan ka na naman ng blood sample. Then, pagre-resin, then after 1 hour, kukuhanan ka na naman ng blood sample. Then, gagamitin mo na yung criteria na diniscuss natin kanina. Okay? Then, for the post-procedure, you monitor for nausea, vomiting, dizziness, then allow patient to eat and resume activities. Then, you document all times, amounts, and patient response. Okay? And that is all guys for your GCT or the non-fasting 1 hour glucose challenge test and the fasting oral glucose challenge test or the OGTT. So in summary guys, your OGTT, yan yung tinatawag natin na fast, then drink, then 1, 2, 3. Okay, fast, then drink, then 1, 2, 3. Okay, that is your OGTT. Okay, now, we move on to the SMBG or the self-monitoring of blood glucose. Okay, this empowers you to manage diabetes and achieve optimal glycemic control. Okay, so the purpose of this one is of course to monitor the blood glucose levels at home kasi nga self-monitoring siya, tama. Then you evaluate effectiveness of diabetes treatment, then you detect hypo and hyperglycemia, then guide medication, diet and exercise adjustment, then lastly to promote self-management of diabetes. Okay, so the equipment needed for this one, we have the glucometer, the test strips, then the lancets device, then the lancets, then alcohol swab, then cotton ball, then the logbook. Dun mo isusulat yung result na makukuha mo. Okay? So the target blood glucose levels, ito yung mga yun. For fasting or before breakfast, kailangan 80 to 130 lang yan. Okay? Then before meals, kailangan 80 to 130. Then 2 hours after meals, kailangan less than 180. Then at bedtime, kailangan 100 to 140. Okay? So, ang ginagawa lang naman natin dito sa SMBG guys, tinuturuan lang natin yung pasyente natin on how to do it. Okay? So, before testing, you instruct the patient to do the following. Okay? Wash hands thoroughly with soap and warm water. Then, you dry hands completely. Then, you prepare all the equipments na na-discuss natin kanina. Then, you check expiration date and test strips. Oh, this is very important guys because sometimes may mga expired na mga strips na-alter na yung result guys. Then you ensure meter is calibrated or coded if required. Then use a new lancet for every test. Oh, this is also very important one guys. Kasi nga, yung lancet na yan guys, dyan mo ipiprick yung kamay nung patient mo. So kailangan guys, so may blood na involvement. So kailangan guys, na iba yan every test. Okay? Or iniibahan mo yan every test. Then avoid squeezing excessively or milking the finger. Oh. How to perform the SMBG. So ito yung tuturo mo guys. Okay? First is to insert test strip into the glucometer. So this one, insert mo na daw sa glucometer. Okay, then you prepare lancet device o this one. Ilagay mo na yung needle, then you puncture the side of the fingertip. Okay, but before puncturing guys, kailangan linisan mo muna. Okay? Kailangan linisan mo muna, then i-dry mo yung finger niya. Then saka mo i-puncture. Okay? Then after puncturing, you allow a small blood drop to form. O punasan mo muna yung unang lumabas na blood, then saka mo palabasin yung dugo, then patuluin mo na dun sa test strip. Okay, then antayin mo lang yung reading dun sa glucometer, then you record the result na. Then, dispose the lancet in sharps container. O, kasi nga, syempre may blood na involved. Okay, then lastly, apply gentle pressure to puncture site. Okay, then after testing, you do the following. Record date and time, o yung mga sinabi ko na kanina yan. Okay, clean glucometer as recommended, store supplies properly, rotate puncture sites, then bring logbook or meter to every clinic visit para meron na sila kaagad baseline data. Okay? O, when to test naman guys, okay, ito yung tuturo mo sa pasyente mo. Kailangan before breakfast, mag-test. Okay? Then 2 hours after meals, before bedtime, before exercise, and when feeling symptoms of hypoglycemia, and during illness or kapag sick day. Okay? Now, paano mo malalaman ngayon na nag-hypogly yung pasyente? Okay? Kapag ang nakuha niya dun sa reading niya guys is less than 70 mg per deciliter. Okay, now paano mo malalaman? Ano ang mafe-feel ng patient mo? Magkakaroon siya ng shaking, sweating, hunger, dizziness, confusion, and palpitation. Okay? So paano natin tinitreat ang isang hypoglycemic na patient guys? Okay? Yun yung tinatawag natin na 15-15 rule. Okay? Ano yung 15-15 rule guys? Pag consumein mo yung patient mo ng 15 gram of fast-acting carbohydrate, okay? Pwede ang 4 glucose tablets, then half cup of fruit juice, and half cup of regular soda. Regular soda guys, hindi yung Coke Zero. Okay, kailangan may sugar kasi guys, okay? So ito, papainumin mo sa patient mo. Then after 15 minutes, you recheck the glucose level of the patient. Okay, kapag mababa pa rin or below 70 pa rin, you repeat lang guys the procedure. Okay? Then, what if naman hyperglycemic yung patient mo guys? Okay, masasabi mo na hyperglycemic ang isang patient mo guys kapag greater than 180 mg per deciliter yung na-read mo doon sa glucometer. Okay? So, the symptoms na mafe-feel ng patient mo kapag hyperglycemic siya guys ay increased thirst, okay, uhaw na uhaw, then frequent urination, ihi siya ng ihi, then fatigue ng ihina, and blurred vision. Okay, so anong gagawin? Anong instruct mo kay patient? Pa-increase mo ang water intake, then follow prescribed medications, then you monitor glucose more frequently, and lastly, to contact healthcare provider if persistent or if ketones are present in urine or blood. Meaning guys, or indicating guys na nag-turn na siya into complications. Okay? Now, ano ang kailangan na malaman mong importante dito? Okay? What if hindi ka sure kung hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia ang nangyayari kay patient mo? Kasi hindi naman all the time guys, meron kang dalang glucometer, tama po ba? Yes. So paano mo ngayon malalaman kung hypogly or hypergly? Okay? Based on the signs and symptoms, tama. But sometimes guys, mahirap yan i-identify. Okay? But ang kailangan mong gawin guys, you treat the patient guys always, okay? Hypoglycemic. Okay? So, ito ang una mong gagawin, the 15-15 rule. Bakit guys? Dahil ang hypoglycemia guys, mas dangerous siya compared into your hyperglycemia. Okay? Si hypogly guys, pwede siyang mag-turn into death. Okay? Or pwede siyang mag-lead into death. Okay? Okay? Nang ilang minutes lang guys. Okay? And that is all guys for your self-monitoring of blood glucose. Okay? Now, we move on to the surgical procedures naman of your endocrine system. Actually guys, this is not included na in your course outline kasi inedit na nila, hindi na daw muna included since included naman daw siya sa medical surgical nursing nyo. But I just want to give you a overview of these procedures guys. Okay? First, we have the adrenalectomy. Okay, when we say adrenalectomy guys, it is a surgical procedure. When we say ectomy, we remove something, tama? So ano yung ni-remove natin? The adrenal gland daw guys, okay? It is a surgical removal of the adrenal glands, okay? And kapag ginawa mo to guys, isipin mo na at risk si patient for bleeding. Bakit? Because adrenal glands are highly vascular. Madaming blood vessel dyan. And increased risk of fluid and electrolyte imbalance. O bakit guys? Dahil si adrenal gland mo guys, nandyan si adrenal cortex, tama? Which releases your mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids. So, kapag tinanggal mo yun, possible hindi na mag-release ng mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids, tama? As a result, magkakaroon ng fluid and electrolyte imbalance. Okay? Now, what is the pre-procedure? Of course, paulit-ulit. You verify, identify, then review medical, then assess for signs of hormonal excess or such as Cushing's syndrome, hyperaldosteronism, and pheochromocytoma. Then you obtain baseline vital signs and weight. Then you review laboratory tests, the CBC, electrolytes, your sodium, potassium, and the BUNN, creatinine, then blood glucose, and cortisol levels. O bakit? Ito ang importante dito na concept guys. Kailangan meron kang baseline data guys para mapag-compare mo later on kapag wala na siyang adrenal gland. Okay? Kasi kapag natanggal yun guys, possible na hindi na mag-release ng mga hormones na nire-release ng adrenal glands mo. O di ba merong two parts kasi yan, the adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla. O. So kapag tinanggal yun, then therefore possible hindi na niya i-release yung hormones na supposedly i-release niya. Okay? Then if client is on steroids, follow provider's order regarding stress dose steroids perioperatively. Then you provide pre-op teaching. Okay, you explain the procedure and expected outcomes. Then discuss pain management and early ambulation. Then you inform about possible need for lifelong steroid therapy if both glands are removed. Okay, kasi kapag both glands are removed guys, then therefore hindi na magre-release ng hormone. So kailangan mo nang mag-lifelong medication ng steroid. Okay? Then number 9, NPO as ordered. Okay, usually 6 to 8 hours before surgery. Sabi ko nga sa inyo guys, this is very general when it comes to surgery. Diba? Pre-procedure, kailangan talaga NPO yan. NPO dyan yung pasyente kasi mag-administer tayo ng sedatives at risk kasi for aspiration kapag hindi naka-NPO. Then you administer pre-op medications as ordered. Okay, then during the procedure, actually ang ginagawa lang naman natin dito is monitoring lang. Okay, monitoring ng vital signs. Okay, the ECG, oxygen, urine output. Oh, yun yung mga minomonitor lang natin dito. Basahin nyo na lang yan, guys. Okay? Then, post-procedure, you monitor the vital signs frequently o the BP, HRRR, and temp. O bakit kaya, guys? Because, ano bang nire-remove natin? The adrenal glands, tama? We have two parts of the adrenal glands, tama? The adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla. O si adrenal medulla, ano yung nire-release niya? Your catecholamines, tama? The epinephrine and norepinephrine. O. So, kailangan i-monitor mo yung BP, HRRR niya dahil nga kung ni-remove mo yun, possible na hindi na siya mag-produce ng epi, and norepi. So, possible guys, bababa lahat ng to. Okay? So, kailangan you assess that frequently. Okay? Then you assess for signs of acute adrenal insufficiency such as hypotension or shock, hypoglycemia o hypoglycemia guys dahil nga kay adrenal cortex which releases the glucocorticoids. O di ba? So kapag hindi na siya magre-release ng glucocorticoids, then therefore magha-hypoglycemia patient natin. What else? Hyperkalemia, weakness, nausea, and fatigue. Then you monitor blood glucose and serum electrolytes such as sodium and potassium. Then watch out for hyperkalemia. Then you assess surgical site and drainage for bleeding. Then monitor intake and output. Then you maintain fluid balance. Okay? Then administer corticosteroids as prescribed. O kasi nga tinanggal na. Okay? So makukulangan na. So you need to administer corticosteroids na guys. Then you manage the pain and nausea as ordered. Then you encourage early ambulation and use of incentive spirometer. Then teach patient and family about steroid replacement therapy, lalong-lalo na kapag bilateral adrenalectomy, meaning dalawang adrenal glands ang ni-remove. O, di ba? Kasi meron tayong dalawang kidneys and si adrenal glands guys, nandun siya sa taas ng kidney mo. Okay? And stress dosing. Then you document assessment, intervention, and patient response. Okay? This is the important in your interventions guys. Okay? After adrenalectomy guys, you monitor clients for acute adrenal insufficiency. Okay? Meaning guys, kulang na daw yung hormone na naproproduce ni adrenal dahil nga ni-remove mo si adrenal glands. Okay? Such as kapag nag-turn into shock, hypoglycemia, and hyperkalemia si patient. O magsha-shock guys kasi nga dahil baka may tendency na hindi na mag-release ng mineralocorticoids. And hypoglycemia guys dahil may tendency na hindi na mag-release ng glucocorticoids kasi nga yun nga yung function niya. Okay? Then lifelong corticosteroid replacement is needed kapag bilateral adrenalectomy ang ginawa kasi nga wala nang gagawa nung pag-produce ng hormone. So kailangan mag-corticosteroids na yung patient natin such as hydrocortisone or other glucocorticoids as prescribed. So this is lifelong na guys. Hanggang nabubuhay na siya, iinumin niya na tong mga to guys. Okay? Then, last, guys, is the thyroidectomy. Okay? This is a surgical procedure naman, guys, or surgical removal of the thyroid gland naman. Okay, that is the thyroidectomy. When we say ectomy kasi, we remove something. So, anong ni-remove? Thyroid daw. So, this is a surgical removal of the thyroid gland. Ano na ulit yung nire-release nitong thyroid gland, guys? That is your T3 and T4. So, this surgery, guys, is indicated siya sa mga merong hyperthyroidism. Okay? So, what is the pre-procedure? Okay? So, before surgery, you administer anti-thyroid medications. Okay? To achieve a euthyroid state and to decrease the size and vascularity of the thyroid gland, which decreases risk of post-op hemorrhage. Okay? Ang thyroid kasi guys, highly vascular yan. Okay? So, ang thyroidectomy, ginagamit natin siya sa mga may hyperthyroidism. Okay? Kapag may hyperthyroidism, may hypersecretion na nangyayari. Due to what? Dahil sa tumor. Okay? So, yung tumor na yun, guys, kailangan i-decrease muna natin yung size niya. Okay? Para hindi siya dumugo ng dumugo later on sa post-op naman natin. Okay? So, mag-administer muna tayo ng anti-thyroid medication. Okay? Then, after surgery, you administer thyroid hormone replacement. Okay? Ano yun, guys? That is the levothyroxine. Anong sabi ko kanina dito guys? This medication is used sa mga merong hypothyroidism. Okay, nakagets na ba yung concept guys? 'Di ba? Ang thyroidectomy, i-remove natin yung thyroid gland, tama? Anong nire-release niya? The T3 and T4. So kapag ni-remove natin yun guys, possible na hindi na siya mag-release ng T3 and T4. As a result guys, magha-hypothyroidism yung patient natin. So kailangan after surgery, mag-administer tayo ng thyroid hormone replacement. Okay? Ayan o. Because clients will no longer produce thyroid hormones after thyroid removal. Okay? Then, we place client in a semi-fowler position post-operatively to prevent airway edema. Then, avoiding neck flexion to reduce tension at the surgical site. O bakit? Because the thyroid gland, guys, it is located anteriorly ng iyong neck. Tama? Then, you monitor fever, a sign of acute thyrotoxicosis. So, ang nangyari naman dito, di ba? Ang concept kasi, guys, kapag tumor, kapag tinouch mo yan, guys, possible mag-hypersecretion yan, no? So, you need to monitor for a fever also, guys, okay? For acute thyrotoxicosis, meaning, guys, sobrang nag-stimulate or nagkaroon ng hypersecretion naman or thyroid storm na tinatawag, okay? Then, you reassure the client that voice hoarseness is temporary lang. Okay? Voice hoarseness is temporary. Then complications include hemorrhage, respiratory distress, hypocalcemia, and thyroid storm. Okay? And this is the pre-procedure, during procedure, and post-procedure of the surgical thyroidectomy. Okay? So basahin nyo na lang to guys. Ito pa yung isang importante dito guys. Okay? The thyroidectomy complications. Okay? Ano yung mga complication niya guys? First, we have the airway obstruction. Okay, airway obstruction. Bakit nagkakaroon ng airway obstruction? Dahil bleeding or edema can obstruct the airway and cause respiratory distress. Now, paano mo malalaman na nagkakaroon ng airway obstruction? Okay, kapag nagkaroon na ng stridor, choking, restlessness, or anxiety, dyspnea, tachypnea, cyanosis, use of accessory muscles, and decreased level of oxygen saturation na yung patient mo. Okay, now, anong gagawin mo guys? You monitor for airway compromise. Okay, you assess for bleeding. Okay, paano malalaman na merong bleeding guys? Kapag nag-frequent swallowing yung patient mo. Okay, kapag nag-frequent swallowing siya, kapag lunok siya ng lunok guys, after thyroidectomy, it indicates bleeding. Okay? What else? Blood on dressing or behind the neck of your patient. So, may nangyayaring bleeding kapag ganun guys. Then, ano ang importante gawin mo? You keep suction equipment and emergency tracheostomy kit at the bedside. Okay? That's why guys, kapag na-obstruct yung airway, meron kang tracheostomy kit. Okay? Itong tracheostomy kit guys, ginagamit yan para ma-intubate yung patient. Okay? Then, i-attach siya dun sa machine para yung machine na yung magpapahinga dun kay patient dahil merong obstruction na nangyayari. Okay? What else? Thyroid storm, okay? Isang complication ng thyroidectomy guys is the thyroid storm, okay? This is a life-threatening hyperthyroidism. Tumaas ng tumaas or nag-hypersecrete ng nag-hypersecrete si thyroid gland, okay? Characterized by high fever, tachycardia, agitation, and seizures, okay? So, the assessment for this one guys is tataas ang temperature, tachycardia, hypertension, agitation, anxiety, tremors, nausea, vomiting, seizures, and increase ang BP and also HR, okay? So, what is your nursing intervention? You administer anti-thyroid medication. Okay, ano yung anti-thyroid medication na na-discuss na natin? That is your metimazole or what? Metimazole and your PTU. Okay? So, you administer metimazole or PTU. Okay, then closely monitor the heart rate, BP, and cardiac rhythm. Then you give IV fluids if shock is present. Then give beta blockers to decrease the HR. Kasi nga tataas yan guys kapag mataas ang T3 and T4 mo. Yung mga HR, BP, metabolic rate, tataas lahat yan guys kapag mataas ang T3 and T4 mo. Okay? Then you administer non-salicylate antipyretics such as your acetaminophen. Then use cooling blankets or ice pack to decrease temperature naman. Then, lastly guys, is the hypocalcemia. O bakit kaya guys, sino ba ang nagtataas ng calcium natin sa katawan natin? Ano yung organ na yun na part ng endocrine system mo guys? That is the parathyroid gland. Tama? And si parathyroid gland, sabi natin during our the part 1 of your endocrine system guys, it is found in the back or at the back of your thyroid gland. Tama? So, thyroidectomy ang ginagawa. Removal of the thyroid gland. Tama? Possible din guys na ma-remove si parathyroid. Okay? Si parathyroid gland dahil nasa likod lang naman siya ni thyroid gland mo. So, pwedeng magkaroon ng hypocalcemia kasi nga siya ang responsible in raising your calcium level. Tama? So, the damage to the parathyroid glands can cause hypoparathyroidism and hypocalcemia. O yun yung explanation ko kanina guys. Okay? So anong assessment? Paano malalaman na may hypocalcemia nang nangyayari guys? Kapag may tetany, paresthesia, or tingling fingers and around the mouth, then muscle cramps, then positive trosu and Shovstek. Okay? When we say Shovstek guys, kapag tinap natin yung cheek ni patient guys, nag-flick, okay, nag-flick siya. Si trosu naman guys, kapag in-inflate natin yung BP dun sa kamay ni patient guys, nag-fold yung kamay niya. Okay, that's the trosu. Okay? Then, what's your nursing intervention kapag may hypocalcemia guys? You monitor for tetany and paresthesias. Then, you assess for positive trosu or Shovstek. Okay? Si trosu, ginagamitan natin ng BP up. Okay? I-inflate natin yung BP. Then, kapag nag-fold yung kamay niya guys, then therefore positive siya for trosu. Si Shovstek naman guys, yun yung tinatouch natin yung cheek. Then kapag may movement na ginagawa yung face mo guys, then positive for Shovstek sign. Okay? Then lastly, kapag hypocalcemic yung patient natin guys, we administer IV calcium if hypocalcemia occurs. Okay? And that is all guys for the part 2 of your endocrine system. I hope you learned something. Thank you and God bless.